For more on the two sessions, I want to bring in Einar Tangen. He is a political commentator who joins us from Beijing. Let's talk first about the economy, because every year it seems like everyone's focused on that figure. Is it going to be 6.5? Is it going to be 7%? Whatever. And also the deficit also getting a lot of press this year. What jumps out at you?
Well, I think the main takeaway here is that 6.5 is the hard edge that the party and the government in Beijing is going to defend. This is very, very important as China looks towards its future. The supply side economic reforms are all aimed at this avoiding middle income trap, which is going to be coming up in 2020, assuming that they have this 6.5% growth over the next period. So I think people can rely on that, and that's going to be a real benchmark. Anytime they start getting near or falling below that, you're going to see more stimulus being put in. Very pragmatic approach as usual. So people should be paying attention to how they're going to be doing this. They've signaled with the deficit and some other areas where they're going to do it, but they're also showing a willingness to take on some pain. That 1.8 million people who will be pushed out of inefficient industries, especially in the cold steel areas, are a real indicator that they are very serious about the kind of structural reforms that they're pursuing.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about the layoffs in just a moment, but I also want to talk to you about one of the issues that faces China and any emerging country, and that's striking this balance between development and environment. How does China go about that?
Well, actually, in China's case, it's one and the same. A lot of the primary and secondary industries which were polluting were, in fact, the ones that were least developed. And by that, I mean these are not the efficient kind of output and capacity that China needs as it goes forward. They were generally very energy intensive, and they were spewing out and poisoning the climate. So by getting rid of this inefficient excess capacity and moving things into higher tertiary industries, China will, in fact, address both of these issues. So it's actually a win-win for China, because the environment continues to be a major issue here.
And you brought up the layoffs, these legacy industries, steel and coal, kind of going by the wayside. People worried, actually, about layoffs. Government says it's going to create more jobs. There's going to be a shift towards innovation. But how do they get there?
Well, Mike, it's not going to be an easy one, and this is where a lot of people are asking, what is the specific plan? You know, the general idea is to move them into high-tech areas and things like that, but these are largely uneducated people. So there's going to have to be training programs, educational initiatives. There's going to have to be relocation of people. I mean, a lot of these steel and coal towns, it's not going to be easy to move new jobs into them, and it might require that there be relocations, incentives to get these people away and trained so that they can participate in what China hopes will be its new economy.
And as China's influence has grown, it's become more of an actor on the international stage. And of course, the focus now shifting in many directions towards foreign policy. What are the challenges that China faces and needs to deal with? And what do you expect to come out of that press conference?
Well, there's a number of things. I mean, Tian Wei hit on a lot of the major points in terms of the North Korean situation, the peninsula talks, and also the South China Seas. But there's also a larger uncertainty. The American elections, with Donald Trump calling for a 45% tariff against all Chinese goods, this does not bode well. You're also seeing across the world a much more conservative, protectionist wave of sentiment as governments are replaced. And this is also going to be very, very troublesome as it goes forward. So there's a lot of global uncertainty that China cannot address directly, but can only wait and see how things start to play out.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Of course, that news conference coming up in about 20 minutes or so. We'll have it for you right here on CCTV.